Okay, so this is the last time we'll meet before the break, and then we'll come back after break is over, and you'll have a couple labs on Jdbc, which we're going to continue and conclude with today. I did want to draw everybody's attention to whether or not they're here or whether or not they're online. In the main section earlier today, I presented the results of assignment 3, preliminary results. And I pointed out that this is usually the one where most people falter and have a bad design. They usually have bad output and bad parsing because they had bad design. And the bad correctness was caused by the bad design. And just a reminder that design comes first. And so what I did in the morning section is I reminded everybody that we pretty much went through this design process with the isotope, the subscription, and the product classes that we developed in class. And then what I did is I went through a demonstration on, well, suppose that IFI, the client that you're working for right now, updates its business model to add an annuity asset. What would it look like then? And I just gave it a quick example. If you buy an annuity at $25,000, it pays you, say, $500 a month for 5 years. So there's value, there's gain, there's all the other aspects with respect to your project as other assets. The sniff test that I gave them was, if you can design this annuity class and implement it in one class, and then put it into your project, and no line of code has to change whatsoever, you probably have a good design. If, on the other hand, you have you're forced to change your design or add stuff to it because you're computing the value outside of an asset class or something like that, then you probably have a bad design and you need to fix it. I'm not going to go through that process again because it was live streamed and you can find it on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, then go ahead and check out that recording. But I pointed out that this is all a result of loose coupling and the solid principles. Where do we take care of asset stuff? In the asset class. Where do we take care of account stuff? In the account class, right? We should have things that are open for extension and closed for modification. So if you have a good hierarchy, you should be able to plug and play a brand new asset class, an annuity, without having to change any code whatsoever, and it should still work, right? If you don't have that, or if it's not closed for modification, then you're making changes all over the place. And we went through, and if you want to, again, if you want to see the result of that, we just came up with this. Excuse me, this annuity class here that looks something like this. All right, and it's got a value here: monthly income times 12 times the number of years, etc. And if you want to check that out, please do. That's really only if you've got a bad design. That you need to rethink your design or whatever. So I'm not going to do that demo for this section unless we really, really want to. Otherwise, it's available online, right? Okay. All right, this is where we left it off last time. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this stuff here that was showing you how to use a hash map. There was a question about that last time. And what we're going to do is we're going to formulate a query now to get all of the platforms, and we're going to return that as a map, mapping their primary key value to the object itself. Right? So let's go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the connection, right? Copy, paste, and prepare my statement here. Right? Exact same as before. And here I'm going to select all the all the platforms, excuse me, platforms, right? And there's not going to be a where statement. I'm just going to select everything from the platform. And I am going to actually use all of the data. I'm going to use the platform ID and the name. So I'm going to go, using a wildcard is not that big of a deal here. It's still not a good idea to do it though. Platform ID and name. And the reason for that is, what if you come and later on you change this platform to then put in like a blob, a binary large object. that represents a logo of the Switch or a logo of PS5 or something like that, right? Something stupid like that. And if I'm selecting everything using select star, right? Now I'm pulling all that binary large object data for no reason, ultimately ignoring it, wasting bandwidth. It's always better to be intentional about what you're doing, right? So I'm only going to pull those pieces of data. Oops. And we'll go ahead and prepare the statement, close my resources. I'm going to cut and paste all of this. There we go. And modify. Right? There is no parameter to set here, so I'll go ahead and get rid of this. Even though there's nothing to prepare and set, you still use a prepared statement, just because using one thing is way easier than using a variety of things. Using the correct one in the correct spot, just use one. It's always going to be correct. Right? We execute our query here to get a result set back. And instead of expecting one value, we're going to expect several values. Right? So there's the publisher name. There's the or platform name, I guess it should be, right? Platform name. Right? And int platform ID. rs.getInt. And that's going to be platform ID. There. I'm going to create a new platform. Platform P is equal to new platform. Giving it the platform ID and the name, platform name. Done. And then I need to put it into my map. Right? And map, what was my map called again? Result. Right? Result.add, or .put, excuse me. And we're going to map the platform ID to the platform P. Close our resources and return the result. Let's go ahead and check it out down here. I'm just going to print them all out. What was it? Get all platforms. And system.out.println get all platforms. There we go. I'm just going to print out the map just to show you that it works. There it is. So the map is mapping 1 to Xbox, 2 to Xbox 360, etc., all the way down to 10, which is mapping to Super NES. Okay. Do we want to do get all games, or do we want to do some data inserts now? Ready? We can do this really quick. It's going to be kind of dull because it is lots of boilerplate, right? In fact, I'm going to copy that entire thing right there. Right? Lots of boilerplate. Make your connection. Select. Now, if I want all the games, what am I going to need? The game ID, the name, and the publisher ID. Okay. So select name or game ID, name and publisher ID from game G. Before we commit to that, is there something else that we could do? We could get the publisher at the same time, right? The only problem there would be if we select all the games, join publisher P on the publisher ID. Oops, come on, use my database here. If we do that, we're going to end up sending way too much over the wire and duplicating stuff. Rockstar Games, Rockstar Games, Rockstar Games. Right? So, I mean, it's not that big of a deal here. So you can ask yourself, you know, is it that big of a deal that we're sending this over multiple times versus, say, if I were to load all of the publishers, right? Do I have it all, get all publishers? Get publisher by name. Get all publishers. Yes, I do. What could I do? I could put this into a static list. So public, static, final, list of publishers. Publishers. Right? There we go. I want to call that method get all publishers. Where was it? Darn it. Get all, let's collapse this stuff. Collapse. Get all publishers, there it is. Right. So one way that I could do this is by simply just immediately initializing it, getting all publishers. And there, now I'm done. Right. As we've already seen though, what might be more useful? A map. Okay. So let's go with a map of integers to publishers. Publisher pub map. Publisher map. Right. Now, am I going to be able to call get all publishers? No, because it returns a list. Okay. So am I going to have to do yet another function? Here's a trick. I'm going to do this in a static block. Okay. I'm going to create a list of publishers. Pubs. Right? That's a temporary list that ultimately is lost when the static block is done executing. And then I will create this map. Publisher map is equal to new hash map. Right. And I will iterate over each element in pubs, right, for publisher P in the collection pubs, or I don't even have to save it off anymore. I can just go ahead and call it right here, but I'll keep it as is for clarity. Then I'll put in my publisher map dot put p dot get publisher ID, and then maps to p. That's not a function, right? That is what's called a static block. This code will execute when this class gets loaded by the Java virtual machine, so that you are guaranteed to have this thing before anything gets called in here, including main. This will actually get executed before your main starts executing because it is a static block. All right. Get all platform. Where were we? Get knit games. Where? There it is. Here. Okay. So I'm okay with just the publisher ID because I've already loaded those all up, right? And I don't have to join to it anymore if I don't want to. Right? If you want to join to it, go ahead and join to it. Right? But I'm just going to go ahead and pull all of the games. I will actually join to availability A on g.gameID is equal to a.gameID, because what I want is a.platform ID, because I am going to want to add all the platforms by their platform ID here. Okay. So I execute my query. Let's go ahead and get rid of all this. And let's be more judicious. Int GameID is equal to rs.getInt GameID. GameID. There we go. String name equals rs.getString name. Right. This kind of this is called CRUD. Remember, create, retrieve, update, and destroy. This kind of CRUD is really boring boilerplate kind of stuff. Sorry, right? But it is what it is, right? So publisher ID int publisher ID is equal to rs.getInt publisher ID, and finally int platform ID is equal to rs.getInt. Now, what did I call that? What does this end up being called right here? A dot. So I have to use that. If you want to do, you can go ahead and put in an alias. Right? But now I've got everything that I need to build this game. All right. So, or not if either. I want while. There we go. So game G is equal to new game. What do I need for a game though? I need a game ID, a title, and a publisher. Okay. So the game ID is going to be game ID, name, and now I don't have a publisher, but I do have a publisher ID. Fortunately, I've loaded them all up in publisher map, right? And so I don't have to load them up again. .get publisher ID. Does that look familiar? If you've been using maps for your project, right? then you can get an asset by an asset ID, right? Or asset code in your case, maybe, right? And you know, no fuss, no muss. Right? Now what I do, I want to make sure that they're available on platforms. So for, say, I want, oh, now I need to rethink this. I'm glad I did this mistakenly. All right, let's take this and test this. I'm going to repeat this mistake in the other, intentionally, the next time. All right. Oh, come on, what? Column game ID is ambiguous. Okay, fine. G dot game ID. There we go. And that means I'm going to have to come back over here, say G dot game ID as game ID. There we go. Debugging as we go along here. What I did is I joined to that availability table so that I could also get the platform. The GTA 4 is available on 2 and 7 here. But what ends up happening is I get a result set with duplicates now. Okay. So maybe it was not a great idea to join immediately from game. Let's just go ahead and go with a simple query here. So now I don't need this alias. I do not have the platform ID anymore, but so be it. Right. And I will add this to the results. Add. Actually, what is my result here? It's a list of games, and it's result, not results. Add G. There we go. That'll work, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this so that we can focus just on that game. System.out.println get all games. There we go. And looks like we're getting all the games to me. Not very well formatted, but you know, out of this world, etc., etc. Right. If we want to, we can make it a little bit cleaner for game G in the collection. Get all games. We'll do one to a line. System.out.println G. That looks a little bit better there. Out of this world by Delphine Software and GTA 4 by Rockstar Games. Good. Okay. Over in the game class, though, remember that we have this list of platforms that, and if it's available on any system. So let's modify the toString method here first of all. String s is equal to this, and then while or for each system, what did I call it? Systems, platform in systems. I will print out s plus equals. I'll tab over and then concatenate the platform p and the line, and then return s. So that if there are any platforms, it'll list them. If there are none, it just won't list them. When I run the same thing over here, I get the same results because I'm actually not loading up all the systems that they're available on. So one way that I could do that is by writing another function to do it and get that system, get that system, get that system. But don't I have something already that loads up all of the platforms? Get all platforms? Okay. Let's reuse that. In fact, we can use the same exact pattern here. Publisher map, platform map. Why am I using all uppercase with underscores between them? Because they're static, right? Yep. All right, so that's going to be a new hash map. Thank you. Platform. Done. And then I'll need a list of platforms. Plats. And then for platform P I can reuse P here in plats publisher map, and it'll be a platform map. P.get platform ID. Done. Right? What's your grape? Oh, why did I do that? Duh. Platform map. I don't need to do all that stuff. You should have yelled at me. There. And then I already did it as a map. Right, there we go. Because the get all platforms there returns a map already. I'm just showing a variety of ways of doing it. Okay. Oh, so. Yeah, publisher, platform, publisher. Yep, right, we're good. All right. All right, so once I've loaded up all the games, what I can do is I can make a new query, right? Actually, no, let's go ahead and start with a query here, because this will actually show you the power of the prepared statements. So string, I'll reuse that query. So query is equal to, I want to select the platform ID from availability, right? Where game ID is equal to question mark. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to that availability table for one particular game here. I'm going to iterate over all the games. I'm going to go to the availability table and pull all the platform IDs. Instead of going all the way to the platform table, I'm just going to use that map that I've preloaded everything into, and I'm going to associate all of the platforms with it. Okay? That means that I'm going to be doing this inside of a loop for each game. G in result. I'm going to prepare that statement. So PS is equal to, now strictly speaking, I should close it up here, I guess. rs.close and then ps.close. There we go. So that I can reuse it down here. This will be con.prepare statement. But I actually only need to prepare it once. I don't need to prepare it for each game, because it'll be the same query over and over again. All I need to do to change it for each query is to change the parameter. Right? So ps dot set, and it's going to be an integer. Right? 1, and it should be g dot game get game ID. There. It's complaining because I need to do this in a big giant try catch. Try. Catch this and throw it. There we go. Once I've prepared that statement and set its parameter, the next great game I'll reset the parameter, so I don't have to prepare the statement over and over and over again. Right? This parameter will change on each iteration of this for loop. rs is equal to ps dot execute query, and then while, because there could be more than one platform, there could be 0. Right? So while rs.next, I will get the platform ID, so int platform ID. Remember, I'm getting it from up here, is equal to rs.get int of platform ID. And using that platform ID, I can get the platform. Platform P is equal to platform map.get platform ID. Right? Now, if that's empty, then we really have, then that would mean that we didn't have a proper foreign key here, right? It is not nullable, so I have pretty much a guarantee from the database that will be there. Right? Once I've got that platform, I can add that platform to g.add platform P. Right? Once I'm done with the result set for that particular game, I close it, but I do not close my prepared statement because I'm going to be using it for the next iteration of this for loop. Only after I'm done with it, ps.close, will I close it here. Now down here, I can check for those things. If ps is not null and it's not closed, then close it. And then I know that my connection is not closed. You can add those protections later yourself. Okay. Run this. Ooh, nice. Except let's go back over to here to game and put in an endline character there so that it'll be nice and neat. And there. all the way to the top. Rockstar Games is available on, or GTA 4 is available on Xbox 360 and PC. Portal 2 is available on all of these. I don't know if that was ever true. Mac has Steam, I guess. Can you play any Steam game on Mac? Probably not.
I think they've gotten a lot better about like Mac and Linux support.
Okay.
Everything.
Is the Valve box still a thing, or what is that called?
They're making
Steam box or something?
Well, now they're making a Steam Deck.
Steam Deck, that's right.
Yeah, it's like a Switch.
Okay.
It's like on Steam OS.
Is that not released, or is it?
I think it either just released or it's like in the process of
Ooh.
release. I don't know. It's like very recent. But,
How much is it?
I don't know.
Steam Deck
Yeah.
cost.
So they've very recently got like.
Ooh, 400? Oh, and then 256 gig is going to be half a terabyte is going to be 640. That's worth it, right? Steam Deck release date. Tell me what the release date then is. If you can get one.
Everything's in scalped anymore.
Okay, it has no release date yet.
Like very recently, I think big YouTubers like Linus Tech Tips or.
Oh, they're taking
His 2 cents and
they're taking reservations as of 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I think that might have been what it is. They like lifted the NDA where people could like actually review the software and everything.
And is it good?
Made it available for purchase. So.
Are the reviews good?
I think they're all pretty positive. I haven't watched too much. I watched a lot of like the earlier hardware stuff, but I don't think I ever watched like all the SteamOS
Okay.
performance stuff.
Well, we did eventually get an index a year later for the department, and when it released, we couldn't get any because they were out. But wait another year, and I'm sure that you can get a Steam Deck without scalpers.
Yeah.
Don't give in to scalpers.
I don't know if I'll ever end up. I have a Switch and I have a PC. So.
Then you have everything you need. All right. So let's change our tact a little bit. Instead of pulling stuff from the database, let's figure out how we can insert things into the database. So the first thing I want to do is this get or insert publisher. I'll mention that there is an insert if not exists or something like that. Insert, select or insert or something, but that is supported by some databases. Postgres will do that for you. So what you can do is you can say, well, get me the publisher with the name Valve, right? And if it doesn't exist, one will be created for you, and then it will give you the publisher with Valve with its ID and stuff like that. So it's very, but it's not supported by MySQL, but we can always write code to do it, right? So given this publisher with just their name, if they exist, then go ahead and get it from the database and then return it. If it doesn't, then insert it and then query out both the key and the name again so that you can return that it has some connection to the database. Fortunately, I've already written a get, what was it called? Get publisher by name, right? And so we can go ahead and put that as a first step, right? Get publisher by name, publisher result is equal to get publisher by name and then p.getName. So there is an expectation here in this design that the publisher that you give me actually has that name, right? And what are you complaining about? Oh, it's in that other one. What was it called? Game data loader dot. There we go. And you return what? I thought you publisher. Oh, okay. I give it the publisher, not the name. There we go. Now, what does that return if there is no such publisher there? Let's find out. Publisher P is equal to get or insert publisher, and I need a new publisher here, right? Publisher key is equal to new publisher, and I'm not going to have an ID for it because, of course, I don't know if it exists yet. Give me somebody who wouldn't exist. Who did the sus game? The Among Us, yeah. Among Us. Question mark? Among Us folks. There we go. Whoever did that, right?
I need to return results or return.
Wasn't it like inner sloth or something?
Inner soft?
Sloth.
Oh, or sloth, right? Yeah, it was it. They had a picture of a sloth, right? Inner sloth?
I think, I don't know.
All right.
I didn't look it up.
All right. So we'll go ahead and say that we want inner sloth here.
You need to return results.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So let's see, and let's go ahead and print this out. System.out p. We haven't actually inserted it yet, and so I'm guaranteed that this is going to be null, right? That's because getPublisher returns null. So if it is null, if the result is null, then we need to insert it. Need to insert the publisher, ... Okay? So let's, again, go by this 4 or 5 step process, whatever it is. Make your connection, prepare your query, close your results, right? And I'm going to do another cut and paste here. We need to insert the publisher. Make my connection. All of that's the same. This query is not going to be a select query. It's going to be an insert query. Insert into publisher, values, name, values. Now I should I hard code the key here, publisher ID? Do I know what has not been used yet? No. Key management is best taken care of by the database. Let it do its job. Right? So insert into publisher name, values, and then here I am going to parameterize it. It's going to be another prepared statement. Am I going to have a result set though? Nope, not yet. We'll come back to that. All right. ps.con.prepare statement. We prepare it. We set the string to p.getName. We don't execute our query because we're not expecting a result set back. Instead, we're going to go ps.execute. What is it? Execute update. Right. There we go. Now, this is not an update statement. It is an insert statement. But update is called for inserts, updates, and deletes. Anything where you're writing to the database, you always call execute update, even if it's not really an update. Okay? There is no result set to process, so we are done with it at that point. We can go ahead and close it, or we can just wait to close it down here. All right, there we go. But now the problem is, if it didn't exist, right, we just inserted it, but do we have a result to return? Nope. But guess what? Now that it's in there, or we have a guarantee that it's in there, we can go ahead and say that result is equal to, and then get publisher by name now, and then return that result. Let's do that. Inner Sloth is now a new publisher, and they're now 14, right? Let's go ahead and verify that. Select everything from publisher. Remember that there were 13 before, going up all the way to Delphine Software, and now there are 14. If I were to do this again, what would it look like? There will be an Inner Sloth now. So will it insert another record? It shouldn't. Right, hopefully it doesn't. Let's verify that really quick. Great, it didn't. It got it. It didn't have to insert it because it was already there. Okay. Let's insert a new game now. So game G is equal to new game. And game ID, title, and publisher. Right. Game ID, I don't know. Oh no, I don't have an ID. Oh, I'm probably going to want a different constructor here then, right? Just a name and a publisher. So source, generate constructor, just the game, just the title and the publisher, and forget about the systems. Generate it. There we go. So I want to create a new game. What was that game called? Among Us. And the publisher will be P for sloth, right? Inner Sloth. Okay, because game ID. I'll just make them non final. Just to get it to compile really quick. I wouldn't do this in a real app. I would still make them final. All right, there we go. What are you still complaining about? Save. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's not public. There we go. Ah. Sorry. Clicked the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. Saver. All right. So I want to put in Among Us as a new game. Okay. Same process as before. It's getting boring, right? Now imagine doing CRUD, create, retrieve, update, and destroy 4 times for every table, right? It gets kind of unwieldy, and at that point you want to say, I give up, I'm going to start using an ORM, an object relational mapping, like JPA. Do I have an example? Jpa Demo? I just want to show you what it looks like. Person and address, there we go. Here, I just have the address. So this is what a Jpa entity looks like. What I've done here is I've used annotations to say that this is an entity. In other words, it's connected to the database somehow. How is it connected to the database? This address is connected to the table address. And then each element here is annotated. The ID, address ID, it's auto-generate, auto-increment. Right? And it's the column name is address ID, and is it nullable? No, false. I do that for all of this stuff, and I don't have to write a single line of Jdbc at all. If you are interested in this and getting set up, then do it. Go ahead. You can do it for your project if you want to. I would get a proof of concept working before, way before the due date, so that you have Jdbc to fall back on if you're going to do that, though. Right? There is a video on it if you want. Otherwise, let's see. Insert into game. Name. What else do we need? Publisher ID and what? That's it. Right. Values, question mark, comma, question mark. Right. I will prepare my statement. ps.getName. This will be the game name. So g.getName or getTitle is what I called it. And then ps.set int 2 and g.getPublisher.getPublisherID. Right. Good. Execute the update, close my resources, and return. Kind of unsatisfying though, right? Insert that for us. Right? So, what was it called? Insert the game. I want to know what ID that ended up having, because I'm going to end up, say, wanting to add it to a platform, PC, or Steam Deck or something like that. You need a $650 Steam Deck to play Among Us, right? Is that game dead now? That fad's over, right? Okay. You said Elden Ring or Elder Ring or?
Elden Ring's kind of huge right now.
That's the fad right now, right?
It's the new Dark Souls. It's the biggest game basically in the service queue.
Okay, all right. I don't like playing any of that stuff. Anyway, the Among Us kind of died because there were too many griefers, right? And like, just screwing around.
My thing with it was I played with a group of friends, and it was like, it's not fun when nobody knows what they're doing, because like everyone just kind of randomly picks each other. And then like, there's a brief period where everyone kind of knows what they're doing, but isn't too into it, where it's really fun.
Okay.
And everyone starts to get it, where it's like, oh, the taskbar moved, but it took 7 seconds, and you were supposed to be able to do that task in 5 seconds. So you're the imposter because you were faking that. And it just got so ridiculous. It wasn't fun anymore.
Okay. I mean, it's just a clone of that like in-person game Mafia or whatever it is.
It's
Yeah.
just not like it.
So, anyway, this is not satisfying. I'm going to update this so that I return the key value, right? Inserts the given game and returns the primary key generated by the database for the record. Right? That's much more satisfying because then we can use that somewhere, right? Or if we wanted to return the like a new game object itself with everything already pre-filled out for us, right? How can I do that? Right? I am only executing this update, right? Execute update doesn't even return anything, does it? It returns int. I think it returns the number of records that it ended up inputting. So if it was successful, 1. If it was unsuccessful, 0. If you were inserting multiple things with one query, it would, you inserted 5 records, it would return 5, right? So I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. When we prepare our statement, we're going to add another thing over here, right? Statement dot return generated keys. Now we can't change the API. We can't change ps.execute update to return a set of integers. Instead, what we have to do is specify that behind the scenes, also grab a result set of all of the returned, of all the generated keys. So that when we do an update here, we can do another, not query here, but we'll grab the result set of that. Result set rs is equal to ps.get the generated keys. Right? Again, we can't change the API so that execute update returns that, but we have another function that does return that, get generated keys. Now I'm only expecting 1 because I only put in 1 record, so keys are in fact I should call it keys. Right? Keys dot next. Right? That doesn't do anything other than advance it to the first record that I expect. All right? If anything went wrong and it didn't actually insert any records, what would happen? An SQL exception would occur, right? And we would never get to this point anyway. So next, and now I want to get it. Int key value is equal to keys dot get what is it? Get int, yeah. And here we can just do 1 because there's only going to be 1 column. Right? We don't need to name that column or anything. Just get the first one. Once we've done that, we close shop here, keys.close. We close up our prepared statement, close our connection, and return our key value. But for that, we're going to have to declare it up there. There. So let's go ahead and insert that game and get that key value. System.out.println key value, because I've already used that variable name. There. Crossing my fingers, executing that. 21. Let's check. Select everything from game, and I see Among Us, and it indeed was 21. Yay. All right. Copy paste for all 4 tables. Right? Or go the JPA route and not have to write a single line of Jdbc. Right? Again, if you're interested, there's a video on that. What else could we do?
Would you recommend doing JPA?
I would recommend maybe spending a couple of hours to get it, to try to get it set up. I can help you a little bit with that, but I have to remind. In fact, I always maintain a README file to remind myself how to do it. Create a new. You're going to have to create a new Maven project because you're going to want to go out to Maven instead of downloading it directly like you do Jdbc. That's simple. That's just one jar file. But JPA is going to be an entire dependency of jar files, and JPA and Hibernate. Simple project default values are fine. So this POM is what I'm talking about there. There we go. I'm going to require Hibernate and MySQL. We're now on version 28, I think. So this was done a little while ago. But otherwise, these are all default values for POM for Maven. Add a meta-inf for the what is it called? It's a data source. let's open it up and find out what it's called. I forget. Persistence.xml. It's a persistence unit. That's it. Persistence unit. I've just labeled mine my database. Right. My password is now 1234. Right. But there's that familiar connection string. There's the username, etc., etc. Right. What else do you need? Oh, and then add dependencies to pom.xml. I already did that. Right. And we're good to go. I think I have a demo. I don't think I have an address class in there anymore. But so this won't actually run because there's no, it cannot invoke iterator because addresses is null, right? So I didn't have the database set up. If I set up my person address database, it would work. But this is what it would look like instead of a bunch of JDBC. You have what's called an entity manager factory. Right? You go out to that persistence unit and grab that persistence unit. You have an entity manager. That's responsible for keeping the connection between your Java objects, POJOs, plain old Java objects, and your database table and records. And if I want a list of addresses here, that looks very SQL-like. It's called JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. Instead of selecting everything from address, I just say from address. In fact, that's a class. And you know it's a class because it was clickable, right? And then entity manager, create the query. With that query, get result list, and it returns a list of addresses. Commit that transaction or roll back that transaction. And then I print them all out here. Right? I didn't, oh yeah, here, entity manager close. So I'm severing the connection to the database at that point because I've already loaded the data. If you need to continue your connection to the database, don't close your entity manager, right? You can create addresses, persist them, save them to the database. You can remove them. What else do we have here? em.remove. Yep. I could remove an address. Addresses dot get the first one, right? I could, so there's your delete statement, em.update or dot persist, right? There's your insert, right? Not the query, but say it addresses as. Right? I'll save the, if I added a new one, then I could do that. Em.sync, is it? Sync? Nope. Dot flush? No. What is it called? I think it's actually update. No. What is it? Contains like an update statement. Maybe it's automatic. Merge, that's it. Merge. Merge, so this is delete, insert, update. And of course this is going to be get result set. This is a select statement right here. But now you don't have to write anything at all. Again, it shouldn't be that bad. It's just figuring it out. If you want that step-by-step process, it's in the video now. Otherwise, I can go ahead and throw that. I could check this into GitHub if we wanted to, and you could use that as a starting point. But I would get it set up and working as soon as possible, so that if you get frustrated enough and it's not, the configuration's not there, then give up and go back to JDBC. It's actually written on top of JDBC. That's why it's still required to have this jar file. Where is it? All right, it's not listing the jar file here. Where is the dialect? I don't think it's that. Is there no driver? I guess the driver is automatic. Okay, fine, the driver is automatic. We still require this MySQL connector J file, and it's automatically brought in using Maven. Because it's a dependency, you can always go directly to the Maven web repository and just download it directly there. Right. I could download the jar file here, but then I'd have to be adding. Well, I need this one, and this one depends on that one, and that one depends on that one. Maven takes care of all that for me. It's a dependency management system. I don't know. Try it. Let me know if it works. Oh, okay. It's kind of fun because once you've done it, all you need to do is annotate all your stuff. And I mean, I don't write JDBC code for the project year after year. I just use JPA. You can invest 10 hours in writing CRUD over and over and over and over again. Same cut paste, modify, or you can spend maybe a couple hours to get this set up and running on at least one table, and then you don't have to waste all that 10 hours anymore. But it looks like it's working. I just don't have the database set up for it. Right. Any questions? All right, then I'll show you one last thing, since it's going to be required since it's part of the bonus. Let's go all the way back to let's do the data saver, right? So I want to output some information here. Printf or println info inserting publisher right? And maybe it fails, and so down here I'll have an error, could not get connection, right? Say that I don't have the proper credentials here. Get or insert publisher. Right? Let's go ahead and see what happens here. I don't want to enter in another game like that, so let's go ahead and run this. Inserting publisher sloth 14. Oh, what? Oh, because it was already there. All right, so enter sloth 2. There we go. And now this should fail because I don't have the correct password, right? It is not good for this to go to the standard output or to the standard error, because nobody is sitting there watching the standard output console 24/7. If we want a record of what happened and when, so that when something does go wrong, we can look through the system logs and say, oh well, user 257 was logged in at that time, and yep, he did authorize that transfer of $10 million to such and such. Right? And it could be that somebody broke in using their credentials, but that was them, right? According to the system logs. Nobody is sitting there watching it. Even if they were, then eventually that goes away, right? Your application dies, whatever output was in the console, you close the console, it's gone. So what we want to do instead is to use a proper logging system. And the logging system that I'm going to suggest that you use is something called log4j. There's plenty of logging systems out there that use this kind of naming format. Log4C, log4cpp, log4py, or pylog, maybe, I don't know what it would be for Python. But I already brought in the 2 jar files here. That's log4j. If you can bring them in through Maven if you want, otherwise log4j, download. There's a version 1 and version 2. You should be using version 2. All right, log4j, there, log4j2, not 1.1. That's 2 is what you want. That's more modern. Right? But you can download the jar files. All you need is the API and the core file here. Okay. Once you've got that, what you can do is you can create a public static. You know what? Do I have my notes? Desktop. Yes, I do. Yay. Okay. There we go. Public static final logger log, right, is equal to log manager dot get logger for this class, game data saver dot class. There we go. Now, of course, you could say, well, I want a logger for the game class instead. But why are you logging game stuff in the game data saver? Right? So make it make sense. If you're going to log stuff about the game data saver, then it should be in the game data saver class, right? Just like everything else. So I'll go ahead and import this. Not java.lang.system. There is a built-in logging system into Java. It is terrible. It sucks. Use the Apache log4j. It is an Apache project. Java org.apache.logging. Right? You'll note here that there they are. Org Apache logging log for J, logger, and log manager. Now, once you have that, you don't have to go to the system output anymore. You can go ahead and go with log dot, say, info. And then I'm inserting a publisher. Instead of a log.error, system.error, you can say something like log.error. Right? And the error message would be error, could not get connected. You can also give it an exception so that it will print out the stack trace in the system log that you are generating. Right? Could not get the connection, so there that is. There was the info from before, but now we're using a proper logging system. Now it's not going to work because we need one more thing here. That it's going to say could not get. Oh no, okay, cool. It works by default. Neato. Right. This is the rethrown exception, so that's why it's going to the standard error. But this here is the proper logging system. I do see something that's missing though. What? That info message that says that we were trying to do some publisher. And that's because by default, it's only going to print the error level messages. There are actually 5 levels of messages. There's error, that's the highest. Warning, trace, I want to say, info, and then debug. I could be wrong about the order of those two though. Debug is going to be the lowest one, because if you just have a debug message in an actual production machine, you would say, I don't care about debugging messages. The time to debug was long ago before you put this out to an actual production server, right? I do care, however, about error messages and maybe info messages because I want to know who logged in at what time. Right? So you can configure it, and I will configure it statically here. There we go. I'll just bring over this code. Right? And there's a configurator. This is how you should do it in your project. And I'm going to use the default configuration. And the level that I will set for this is going to be info and above. There we go. What are you griping about? Did I do the wrong configurator? No, I didn't.
See, import Java logging level up there. Is that supposed to be?
Oh, that's where I screwed up. Thank you. No, I want the Apache one. Where are you? I need better glasses, unfortunately. I did it again.
It's the one I think right above the class.
It's the 4th one. Yeah, you're right. This one right there. There we go. God. Sorry, I've been staring at a screen for too long today. Now when I run this, of course, now it's going to have that info that I was inserting a publisher here. And the default configurator does what? It gives you this nice timestamp. Right? It's 2:48 in the afternoon and 11.533 seconds. Right? Where did it occur? It occurred in main, or as a result of main. There was an info level. There was the fully qualified package and class name that generated it, and then there's the actual message. Right? If you have other stuff that you're logging throughout this entire class, all of these system.errors should, of course, be changed to log.error, and you're not outputting to the standard output anymore, or the standard error anymore. You can configure it to do other things. For example, you can configure it to, right now the default configuration is just going back to the standard output, and that's what we're going to expect here for your project. But you could change it so that it's going to a file. You could change it so that it's going to a database. You could change it so that it's going to both. You could change the configuration so that it's going to a file and then also a backup file. You can change the configuration so that it has a daily rolling file. So for example, all the logs for one day will be in one file, and then when the time is right at midnight, it'll create a brand new file and it'll start logging on that one automatically. Then you can configure it to keep all of the old logs or just the last 10 days, and it'll automatically delete it for you. Or you can say, the logs are kind of large, so what we'll do is we'll have a file size data logger. So it'll log up to 10 megabytes, and then it'll create a brand new file. Then it'll, when that's full of 10 megabytes, it'll create a brand new file. Right? And it'll can automatically back up the oldest ones, keep a record of, maybe it'll drop off the oldest one if you want it to, whatever. That's the advantage of using a proper file logging system. All those bells and whistles are automatically there for you. Right? Awesome. Right? Any questions on that? Otherwise, that's log4j. And this is the minimum, that's all that you need right there. Right? I grabbed these where? At the Apache download. Probably the binary here. Yeah. Download that, just making sure that, yeah, open that. Come on. It's taking forever to open this. All right, I had to do it manually there. When you actually get it, nope, that's not what I want. When you actually download it, you'll see that there are dozens and dozens of jar files, right? For different configurations for MongoDB database, LSFR or LSF4j, Spring, etc. All you need is the API and the core. It looks like they're on 2.17.2. What were we on? 2.14.1. So, wow, they've got 3 minor versions above what I have right here. So download the latest, whatever it is. I didn't know that they were still actively developing this, but whatever. It's not that one. Where is it? Oh, log4j 2. I'm actually kind of surprised that they're still developing it because, I mean, it's a log system. I can imagine patches, but what else are you adding to it at this point? It's pretty mature. Oh well. 17 has been released. Yeah, I don't know. Questions? No?
What file did you say you downloaded?
Project? Oh, sorry, what?
What, like, because there was like a bunch of types of files and stuff. Which one did you download for the?
I downloaded just the binary, the zip file.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care about this. I mean, if you want to download the entire Java source, then you can. If you want to, this is a tarball. It's just a tape. Tar stands literally for tape archive. You grab a bunch of files and you put it into one file so that you can put that one file on a tape. That's why they call it tar. And then you gz it, you zip it up, and that's called a tarball. If you would just want a zip utility here, then download that one. That's the one I did. And then I just grabbed the API and the core. Any questions? All right. Have a great break. No, is anybody on? I'm interested. Is anybody online at all? 2, but I'm one of them because I'm watching over here. All right. Well, thank you, the other person, for joining us.